In the wake of the Nice terror attacks, Newt Gingrich has decided to apparently out-Trump Trump because he is now saying that not only should we ban Muslims from coming into the country, but we need to consider exiling the Muslims that currently live here. And here is a video of him laying that out.
And let me be as blunt and as direct as I can be. Western civilization is in a war. We should, frankly, test every person from here who is of a Muslim background, and if they believe in Sharia, they should be deported. Sharia is incompatible with Western civilization. But we need to be fairly relentless about defining who our enemies are. Anybody who goes on a website favoring ISIS or Al-Qaeda or other terrorist groups, that should be a felony, and they should go to jail. Any organization which hosts such a website should be engaged in a felony. It should be closed down immediately.
So Newt Gingrich historically has been a terrible person, but he hasn't always been a stupid person. And I think that he is trying to appear to be stupid in the particular way that Trump has laid out and made his brand recently in a last-ditch effort to get the VP position. Because he's saying there that we are going to conduct background checks on the millions of Muslims currently living in this country.
Not even millions of Muslims, people with Muslim background.
People with Muslim background. They could be Cenk. He's secular. He doesn't believe in any of that bullshit. But yeah, potentially throw him out for, as we were talking about during the video, literally for thought crime, for saying that there should be Sharia. You can't have Sharia in America because we have a constitution and it's a secular system of government that we've set up. But you can want Sharia just the same as there are millions of Christians who want biblical law in America. We don't ban people for thinking things or for wanting things. That's unconstitutional. Okay, yeah, that's the system that we have set up.
You want to ask immigrants whether they believe in Sharia law and then deny them entry if they say yes? Fine, I have no problem with that. I got news for you. They'll say no on the form. But,
yeah, I think they're going to say no.
But they'll figure it out. But that's about all we can do. Sharia law, but I just fell into the trap that Hillary Clinton fell into. Sharia law is not a threat in America. It's not. Bringing it up is a dog whistle and a giant red herring. Yeah. I don't trust anyone, and neither should you, who goes Al-Qaeda. Like, right off the bat, just like, oh man, what a pompous blowhard.
So this is the 100th most pompous thing he's done, but it is on the list.
So what he's saying is that if you go to certain websites, that should be a felony. Why? Because there's certain information on those websites that he deems dangerous. Those ideas on the website are dangerous. He's literally saying we should make certain thoughts a crime. Yeah. We should have thought crimes, and I know what's in your fucking head. I know, I'm Newt Gingrich. I just read your thoughts. Also, there's certain books. If we found out you read this certain book, felony. That's the equivalent. Yeah. If you say you can't go to a website, that's a felony. Well, if does he have the book? If you read that book, that's a felony. So they've now, not only are they anti-intellectualism, not are they pushing anti-intellectualism, he's actually pushing anti-First Amendment. That's how bad it is. They want to say you can't even have any information that I deem is dangerous.
Yeah, Jimmy's not even exaggerating there. He literally said just going to certain websites.
Just going.
Right, so not like spending a lot of time in the forums.
So especially like us here, if we thought, well, we're doing a story on this, and so we went there to see what it said.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. Felony.
Which does open up interesting opportunities. If you don't like your neighbor, for instance, he plays music too loud, just rickroll him with a jihadi website.
Yeah.
He's out. Get him out of this fucking country. Because that's the country we have now, where you can simply being exposed to information makes you illegal.
Did you see how Newt backtracked on this today?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we actually have the video of it, I think, right?
Oh, let's see it.
So let's turn to this. I believe this is Facebook Live, JR. So Facebook Live, this is where people reveal important information now. And so here was him attempting to clarify his statements because he feels the media was being unfair.
Let me make something very clear because the news media went into a hysteria overnight in trying to grossly exaggerate what I was saying. If you are a practicing Muslim and you believe deeply in your faith, but you're also loyal to the United States and you believe in the Constitution, you should have your rights totally, completely protected within the Constitution. You should have nothing to fear. Your children should have nothing to fear. This is not about targeting a particular religion or targeting people who practice in a particular way. This is about looking for certain characteristics that we have learned painfully, time after time, involve killing people, involve attacks on our civilization. So I want to draw a sharp distinction here. One of the things that's obvious is that if we had had the kind of counterterrorism surveillance that New York developed shortly after 9/11, which has been disbanded in a way that makes no sense at all. Fact is, in that period, the New York Police Department was doing an extraordinary job of tracking potential radicals, finding out what they were doing, and, if necessary, intervening.
So we have to give him credit for being a merciful person. If you agree with him on all these things, then you should have rights in America.
But I like how
That's what he said there.
I like how he was on the media for misrepresenting him.
That was worse.
Right. Well, also they misrepresented you because you didn't say that the first time around. All you said was they should be deported.
Yeah.
Right. And you didn't say, I don't mean Muslims who believe deeply in their faith but adhere to the Constitution. I mean, abstractly, it's a fair point. I mean, there's a little dog whistling in it, but it's still a fair point. But he didn't say any of that. And then, of course, as he kept talking, he actually started digging an entirely different and new hole.
Yeah, exactly. And look, he said, if you don't agree with our system of government, if you don't believe in the Constitution, you will not have rights anymore. Well, then I would argue, get him a plane ticket to some other fucking country, because he just finished saying that we should have thought crime and you should be locked up if you go to websites. You don't believe in our Constitution, Newt Gingrich, which by your logic means you no longer have any rights. So get the fuck out of here.
John,
I'm just following Newt Gingrich, one of the foremost conservative leaders in America.
So what you're saying is that when a right-winger points the finger at a Muslim, he has three anti-constitutional fingers pointing back at him.
That was the subtext, yes. I like that.
Yes. So,
I'm going to put it on a shirt.
By the way, I'm selling that shirt. By the way, but Newt Gingrich was counterdicted by the Brookings Institute, which is a right-wing think tank. So there's a guy from the right-wing think tank. His name is, I can't say, Shadi Hamid. I can say it. He's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute, and he said apparently a lot of people who know nothing about Islam and are experts on Islam and Sharia telling Muslims what their religion actually says. So that's a right-winger who's a senior fellow telling Newt, again, it says what they're a cartoon party. The Republican Party is a cartoon party right now. And you have guys like Newt Gingrich. By the way, if he is the vice president, 6 marriages between them. And the guy who replaced Newt Gingrich just went to jail for a serial child molestation. That's the party of family values. The Republicans are a joke cartoon party right now. And the only thing they have going for them is that they're running against Hillary Clinton.
He also said in that do we have any more of the Facebook Live, or is that it?
That's it of the
Because he also said in Facebook Live, the part that I loved, he was like, what he took back was, you know, under the historically, he said it's not appropriate under the Constitution. Historically, we've always said if you fought against the U.S., the correct answers were basically jail as opposed to deportation. So his big thing was, hey, sorry about the thing about deportation. I'm just going to put you in jail.
Okay. And he's a nice guy.
And he literally said, if you go to look at the madrasas, and if you're in a school which is teaching Sharia, you want to expel it from the country. I guess meaning that madrasa. You had to expel if they teach their religion. So inside, I grew up Catholic, right? And we'd have the canon law, right? And so that's when they would get caught molesting children and raping kids. They would say, we're going to handle it through our canon law, which means you can rape children and kids. That's what their canon law apparently says, because nobody ever went to jail who raped little kids and who was a Catholic bishop or a priest or covered it up. So that's
sounds like Sharia to me.
If Catholics were coming, but if Catholics were coming and go, hey, do you believe in canon law? First of all, both will go, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. What is canon law? I don't even know what that is. I have to imagine that most Muslims are the same way. I know in America, and I was on a program recently with, I'm blanking on his name, but he's a famous atheist who writes lots of books. And he told me that in America, he considers American Muslims westernized or modernized. I forget the term he's using, but because there are 3 million Muslims living in America. Where are the attacks, right? So he's saying. So he told me that the Western Islam has come into the 21st century. That's kind of interesting.
Real quick, Brookings not really conservative, but no, sort of centrist, or even slightly left.
Really?
But yeah. American Enterprise Institute would be your conservative thing.
Well, the point is still.
But where did the Heritage? I was confusing with the Heritage Foundation. You're correct. Okay, thank you, Ben.
But their point still valid.
It's still a relevant point. Yeah.